Aloha and welcome to Java. Thank you kindly for joining me again. This is for the week of July 21st, 2024. It's Sunday. I hope everyone is having a wonderful weekend. And on the front of this one, I want to bring up, because he looks very cool, this is Elon Musk, artificial intelligence, obviously, transposed on, but burning these servers, and I'll go over why in a little bit, has to do with CrowdStrike. He did say that he was removing this from the entire platform. That's easier said than done. So kudos to him for following through with that. So with this, I would like to go into the markets, and then I've got a few other things that I would give an overview and like to speak about towards the end. So with this, we've got the MMRI has pulled back a bit in the risk factors just below 275. So we've got the fear greed meter in neutral territory now. It's pulled back a bit from the greed, but it's not near the fear section. We're not seeing massive selling. This is not the panic drop off in the markets. While they did drop finally what could be called a significant amount, it's not the panic sell. None of the triggers were really switched other than CrowdStrike, even with that main outage. So I do expect a little bit more continued weakness, probably going into Monday, barring anything else happening prior to it. So it's got a bit more that it needs to deflate a bit. So with the sentiment, we've got in here dollars. And yes, I did misspell that on purpose. So my opinion, my idea, just skip ahead to commodities, not financial advice. Do your own research. But this is typically what happens. What we're watching, there's a shift into treasuries because of higher yielding. And as those get purchased, the price will go up, yield will go down. However, we are witnessing the devaluation and collapse of a currency. Now, it's got more time, don't get me wrong. However, I don't see treasuries as safe, or quote unquote, air quote safe, as they once were. So, with that, the next rotation generally is into commodities. So, with this, we've got home sales, PMI, and some other reports coming out. The big ones will be GDP, initial jobless claims, because that's what the Fed is watching now, as well as PCE. So that GDP growth rate and the PCE inflation are really going to be the big ones, as well as personal spending, because it's looking toward the rate cut. Still think the timing is going to be September, is just my guess. Could be totally wrong. I think it's going to be a nominal cut. But we're also expecting to hear from basically central banks, and whether the Bank of Canada, Central Bank of Turkey, and the People's Bank of China, what they're going to come out with on their central rate decision. So this will be central bank rate decision, that is. So that will be interesting. So this week more will be stock specific and driven by earnings. We are heading into earnings seasons, and we've got quite a few notable companies in here. So Monday, nothing as far as reports, but we've got Verizon, Truist Bank, and then we've got a few other companies, Zions, another bank. So, and then prior to Tuesday's market open, UPS, that'll tell us a bit on shipping and how the real economy is doing. We've got Tesla after the close on Tuesday, Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google, Visa, credit card spending. We've got Capital One, also credit cards. That's going to give us a view into that. So we've got AT&T and a few other large ones coming up, but I'll cover those a little bit later on in the week. So moving on, we've got UK bankruptcies spiking. Now, the story came out there, but this is the same thing happening in the United States. Bankruptcies rolling in at a rate that they have not seen in many years, since the 2008 era. So the great GFC, if you will. I have to be careful what I say. So we've got Canada's retail sales slumping, high rates weighing on shoppers. Well, it's not exactly true. It's not the high rates, it's the inflation. The rate of inflation for Canada in ratio with their real wages has not kept up. So it's crushed the consumer there. They have no more spending money, savings. So basically, their economy, and they are a two-tier society now. So the larger spenders in their economy and a lot of the buyers globally is the US economy. So really, this is a gauge also of how the United States consumer is doing. Because as largest buyers, pool of buyers and consumers, we're watching global slowdown. And that is very telling. So I want to go over here. This is a bank. With the banks, Texas Capital is the smaller one. They missed on their earnings. And the executives are saying that it's weak loan demand. Well, weak loan demand because of tightening up. And consumers don't no longer qualify for these. So we've also, on the flip side, we've got regions, they've got lower costs is the key here, and improved credit quality bolstering their profits. So really it's lower costs. They're talking about basically cutting back on staff, cutting back on costs. Those are the ones that will make it. The others will be either dissolved, claim bankruptcy, get merged or purchased for pennies on the dollar by the larger banks. With this, we've got Berkshire, so even larger banks are not immune, selling around 1.48 billion Bank of America shares. So they just filed this. So Greg was right about this again. He called this one out a while ago. I was calling out the weakness in Wells Fargo because I still think that they are going to subsidize Bank of America. I don't think they're going to allow it to fall. We'll see. At any rate, the reason I'm bringing them up is because the corruption, the fraud, and the amount of basically just crime that is started by all of these banksters, and almost none of them serve time, none of them are held accountable. By contrast, we've got this another sentencing now. Maybe he deserves this, but we've got a Marine accused of doing things. This is all related to January 6th. If you don't know what that is, I have to be careful what I say here. I want this video to make it out. But just for contrast, on that day, we've got more than 1,400 people that have been charged with federal crimes related to this. More than 900 have been sentenced, and roughly two-thirds receiving terms ranging from a few days to 22 years. So if you know anything that happened on the inside of this, and compare this with any of the riots going on, BLM or any of the other things where there were no arrests made and no follow-ups. So just shows this very serious difference here. With this, I want to go back into Elon Musk a little bit more. So with the CrowdStrike platform, the reason he vowed to have all of it removed from X's servers, he's blaming the DEI for the widespread calling it a digital P word. And this is when it hit Microsoft services, airlines, banks were down, ATMs were down, accounts were down, brokerages were down, restaurants and retail. It hit across the board. So, and I want to be very clear about the wording that they are choosing for this, because again, these words. So the biggest IT outage the world has ever seen. Well, I want to talk about them a little bit more. So saying they're trusted by governments, the founder basically has his basis owned again by BlackRock. Okay. So just basically the backing for this company, it's in all of the systems. And what do they focus on? They focus on basically tracking information, collecting information, and basically blocking out like an antivirus. So they can effectively, we just got a good look at how entrenched they are in our daily lives, and they have control of all of it. So With this, paired with the artificial intelligence that will be coming in, I've got this one saying you should opt out of the new TSA's recognition scans. And, these all of these clickbait, here's how. It's very easy, very simple, I'll tell you. You just say no, thank you, and you move on. So all you have to do is show your ID, along with, if you have a pass or something, and say, no, thank you very much, but I prefer not to. And you walk right past it. So there's cameras everywhere else. However, it's very easy to avoid. And I encourage you to do so. So CrowdStrike gathering all of the information, utilizing it, compiling it, and then, it goes deeper than that. Okay, so I want to say a couple of words about the physical wars that we're hearing about that's going on. So Germany, France, and Spain now holding joint air drills in Japan. So, of course, poking now not the bear but the dragon on the other side. So, with this, we have the US declassifying their stockpile data. So, as of last year, 2023, 3,748 active and inactive warheads, 2,000 more than that awaiting dismantlement, so the older ones that they are basically going to replace. So, kind of flexing their muscles. It's not by accident that this report is making its way out to mainstream media, because now with this, the United States is playing bully on the playground and feels that they need to tell India who they can be friends with. So they've warned them against any ties with Russia, because that Russian kid over there, basically they're saying is no good. And if they are going to continue to be friends with Russia and China, then it could create difficulties for the relations. What does that mean? That means trade, means currency, and it also means physical shipment or any type of backing and military backing. We've got several areas that are hotspots right now. So this comes straight from the National Security Advisor. So, in my opinion, kind of dirty business, and they're getting a little more bold about it. So I want to say one other thing about Euroclear. So the last time I had told you that they confirmed the confiscation of the Russian assets. Well, now Ukraine is to get the first $1.5 billion, and that has now been confirmed by Euroclear. So with all of this, they are just kind of escalating things a little bit further. There's other things going on in X. If you want to keep up to date and have free conversation about this, it is a Microsoft platform, but you can join us on X and just go to the main chat and find us there. And we've got a lot of things we keep up with. Very interesting. I think you'll find it worth your while. So with this, I would like to remind you, become prepared. Have alternate forms of transport. Don't rely on a newer vehicle, especially. So I don't care if you have a horse, if you ride goats in a buggy. Think about alternate forms of transport if your current one seems to go out. And with that, my friends, I wish you a wonderful rest of your weekend. And until I see you again, of course, stay free.